This is your group betting preview for Euro 2024. I am Gareth Wheeler. He is Jake Osgathorpe for Pinnacle as we go group by group, A through F. What bets we like, where the value plays may be, and what upsets may be in the cards for this edition of the Euros. Available on Pinnacle are markets for group winner, dual forecast, which teams will finish first and second respectively and move on at these Euros. To qualify, remembering that the four top third place sides will also punch their ticket to the next round or the knockout round of this competition, and points totals as well. Are you ready to dig in, Jake? Is there a particular group that you're looking forward to breaking down here?
I want to get stuck into the first group because I've got a couple of plays I really like.
Let's go. That is a tease right there, but you're not going to have to wait long. As Group A features hosts Germany, Scotland, Hungary, and Switzerland. Germany are the favorites to go on and win this group, and the third favorites overall to win this competition. Where shall we begin? As I said, winner, dual forecast to qualify, point totals. What are you looking at in terms of Group A?
Group A, I am solely on the point totals. I don't have anything in terms of the markets dual forecast or to qualify. I think they're all short enough. Switzerland, as anyone who's listened to the outright preview, I'm liking the chances. They're short to qualify, minus 200. Hungary as well, minus 155. I think it's difficult because I think this is one of the tougher groups to assess because everyone's a kind of a similar level. I mean, Germany are a little bit ahead, but everyone else is. I think I'd put Switzerland above Hungary, and then I'd put Hungary above Scotland, but I don't think there's that much between the three teams. So it's a good one to assess because it is just the fact that we are getting a little bit of value because the bookies are quite. If you've got a strong opinion of a certain team, then you'll find a bet that you like in this group. So I'm starting off with Germany under 6.5 points at plus 127. I'm surprised that the line's this high, to be honest, because as I've said, the three teams that are in the group with them, I do rate them. I think they are capable of causing some problems for Germany, especially with the style of play in which they adopt. I mean, Scotland and Hungary in particular are more than happy to sit deep and to frustrate, play on the counter-attack, make it a low-scoring grind. And I wouldn't be at all surprised to see one or both of them take points off Germany. And yeah, Switzerland are similar, but not as pragmatic, and they've got a little bit more punch in attack, I think. So yeah, I'd be surprised if Germany went and landed 7 points in this group. I think to be honest, I think 5 points probably wins you the group because I think everyone probably takes points off each other. So yeah, I'm taking Germany on their point line of 6.5.
I think that Germany is by far the best team in this group, but that's not a total that I want to take. I think 6 is realistic for them to come away with points in every game. That could happen, but does it come through 2 wins and a draw, which it would take to go over the total? I'm not quite sure about that. My favorite play in this group, and sorry to the Tartan Army, Scotland to fail to qualify from this group at minus 115. Are you familiar with Cinderella, Jake Osgathorpe? Because I feel like the clock has struck midnight and they've turned into a pumpkin. Not that they play competitive games. When they beat Spain and when Scott McTominay was scoring every game through qualifying, absolutely. But I think
everyone's getting carried away. Everyone got carried away, didn't they? Yeah,
they have, and I think that they are, for me, the weakest team in this group. Steve Clark's side played 7 games between September and March. They drew 2 and they lost the other 5. Scott McTominay, without that, pronounced number 9 or reliable strikers. Lyndon Dykes is now out for this tournament, joining the likes of Hickey and others. Some key players for a side with not a lot of depth have lost some key players heading into this tournament. McTominay scored 7 of their 17 goals in qualification. Like, Scott McTominay, all of a sudden, your most reliable source of goals. John McGinn scored 3, by the way, and the only other player to score more than once in qualifying. That just tells me that they don't have enough to hang in what is a, above average group for this tournament. Yeah. So, and at minus 115 not to qualify, I think our odds are, I can't see them winning a game. Let's put it that way. They may be able to play one or two of these sides to a draw, but I mean, 2 points at best, and that's what I have them on, isn't enough to be one of the top 4 third place teams. So at minus 115, that's my favorite play. I want to bring up the fact that I originally had Hungary to advance from the group at minus 127. That's been pushed out to minus 155, I believe. Like, it's been pushed out considerably. And that's just not a place. That's just not a place that I'm willing to go on Hungary. Although I do like this side, I think they're a difficult team to play against. They remind you of just a well-drilled like league championship side. That's just a pain in the what to play against. Szoboszlai is their star player. I rate him, but so much comes through him. There's reference points for this team doing well in tournament football as well, playing in tough groups. They were in the groups of death in I believe it was in the Euro 2 editions before. Previous, where they played teams like Portugal, very, very tough in this group stage. So there are reference points here. Are they good enough to do some serious damage? I'm not quite sure about that. I think that they've been pushed out of range. In terms of Switzerland, I know that you like them. Just for me, not a team that I'm willing to back at any of the numbers. I think they will and are good enough to advance from the group, but beyond that, not so much. But in terms of point totals, everything else in this group, there's nothing that jumps off the page for me. I echo your sentiments. I do think it will be competitive football played across the board, but Scotland to fail to qualify, that's the one play I'm confident enough to make. Anything else from Group A, Jake?
Yeah, I'm a bit greedier than you in terms of the Scotland play. I'm taking them on their point line. It's 2.5. We're getting plus 125 for under 2.5 Scotland points. And yeah, if you do any kind of data digging around the qualifying, you'll soon find that Scotland were one of the worst teams to actually make the tournament. They ranked second worst across the qualifying for expected goals for per game. Only Albania were worse. And they ranked second worst for overall expected goal process, with only Georgia performing worse. So they were really fortunate to make the finals. I mean, Norway racked up nearly twice as many expected points as Scotland, and Scotland somehow managed to pip them. So, like you said, you called it Cinderella. I personally never went that far. I thought they were riding their luck. They were so fortunate in the way in which they managed to get the points. I mean, they scored 17 goals from chances equate to 7 expected goals. I mean, that's just not a sustainable way of playing. You're not going to score 10 more goals than expected over your next 8 games, are you? So yeah, I'm happy to fade them. Like they'll be playing to avoid defeat in all 3 games. They are the inferior team in the group, and just not sure where the goals are going to come from. You mentioned McTominay, but yeah, he was the player that would just, he was the one that kind of helped them overperform their underlying data by such a margin, by scoring 7 times. I mean, he's not going to be able to fire them through this group or score enough goals to be able to make them relevant. So I think they'll be a tough team to break down. They'll be a tough team to beat. I don't think, I like you. I'll be surprised if they drew twice and lost once. But that's where the under 2.5 comes in lovely, because that would be just fine.
Yeah, and at a plus number, I'll jump on board with that. If you're going to bet them to not qualify at minus 115, you might as well add on that play. I project them to have 2 points at most under that number at plus 125. I'll back that on that play as well. Let's shift things to Group B, a group that Jake and a number of others have called the Group of Death here at Euro 2024. Spain, Croatia, Italy, and Albania find themselves in this group. Should mention the last 3 meetings of Croatia and Italy all ended 1-1, albeit they haven't played since 2015. Well, Spain drew both sides in 90 minutes at Euro 2020 as well, and again with Croatia in the Nations League since then. That may mean something if you think that pattern will continue to the points totals in this group. Spain are the favorites to go on and win Group B. How do you handicap Group B, the group of death here at Euro 2024, Jake?
I make Spain clear favourites, personally. The market's got them at minus 117. I think they should be a bit shorter. We discussed in our outright huge question marks around Italy. Albania are a team that I massively want to oppose. I'm backing them in all kinds of different negative markets. And Croatia are the only other one. But as I said in the outright preview, I'm not sold on them having a really strong tournament. I think they're more than capable of drawing with Spain, but again, I don't know if they have enough firepower to be able to beat Italy handily enough to be able to top the group. So I'm taking Spain to win the group at -117, and that is a price that's moving. So definitely get on board with it now, because I do think it'll get to maybe -125 or so. It's moved from -114. We've discussed the squad's got a nice blend of youth and experience, a nice churn from generation to generation. Not like Italy, where it's Chiellini and Bonucci, and then we've got nobody to replace them, or they have, but they're kind of out injured. But yeah,
Bastoni's a good player, but I hear you.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm riding the Spain train all the way.
I already bet them at -110. It's shifted out, like you said, to -118 now. Spain to win the group for me. Spain beat Italy twice in the Nations League Final Fours in recent years. The only time they lost them, was of course on penalties. Yeah. No penalties in the group stage. Worry about penalties when it comes to Spain. It's very difficult to beat this side in 90 minutes. You mentioned it. Croatia is competitive as they play in group football at major tournaments. They don't all the time go on to win the group, and then fading Italy. And I don't think Albania can hang with a side like Spain either. So I got them at -110. Jump on them now. I think this number will continue to shift out. Spain, for me, that is my top play from Group B. Do you have any other plays to make in Group B, Jake?
No, unfortunately, the Albania points line is set at 1.5 as opposed to 0.5, because I would have been hammering the 0.5. It won't come as much of a surprise that I really don't fancy them to do well at all at this tournament. Their underlying numbers in a very easy qualifying group were really, really poor, and this is a huge step up. I mean, we're talking about. Again, FIFA World Rankings, pinch of salt, however you want to look at them. But we're talking about teams that are ranked 8th, 9th and 10th in the FIFA World Rankings that they're playing up against. And Albania in qualifying, they really struggled to create chances. Just 0.9 expected goals for per game they managed in a group that contained Faroe Islands and Moldova, two teams ranked at 130th or higher. So
Faroes on the up. Faroes are on the up.
They're still shit, let's be honest. But yeah, that's a damning indictment of Albania in the fact that they managed to really they struggled to create chances against those lowly teams. I think that if you can back Albania anywhere to be the lowest scoring team at the tournament, or to just not score at the tournament, I think that definitely appeals to me as well. So, but yeah, for now, I'm just happy to ride Spain here.
I mean, the under 1.5 points for Albania is at -199.
Short, yeah.
There's nothing there. I do think they can maybe sneak a draw, maybe against Italy. We'll see.
Maybe,
the reason why they didn't didn't really have a number 9. Broja's back and will be playing in this tournament, albeit a frustrating year. He didn't play any games in qualifying, and they did come out of a group featuring two sides that perennially do qualify for this tournament in Poland and Czechia. So they've been a difficult team to play against. We'll see what that means, but you're right. The metrics, the data, the numbers don't reflect very positively on them. No other play in this group. Like the numbers for me, there's nothing bettable. I did consider a potential dual forecast with Spain and Croatia at +302. Not enough juice in it for me because so much could happen in the group, but we'll leave that alone and we'll move on to Group C. And in Group C, it's England's group alongside Slovenia, Denmark, and Serbia in this group. No doubt about it. A relatively straightforward group for England, safe to say. Denmark's been a familiar foe and has done some damage, but failed to impress at the last World Cup. And some of their tried, tested, and true players may be moving into the real tail end, the twilights of the respective international careers. What do you make of Group C, and do you have any plays to make in this group?
No, this is the only group I've got no bet for. No, actually, I tell a lie. I've got another group with no bet. I struggled to find anything that I liked in terms of a price. England's point total is the same as Germany's at 6.5. Overs at -140, under at +115. That under was potentially interesting because I do think that Denmark have the capabilities of and Serbia, to be fair, the way in which they can attack. But defensively, both of those have major question marks. I would have backed England and Denmark dual forecast if it was a plus number, but you're looking at minus 102, and that's just not something that I can take at that price. Other than that, there's very little that I like the look of. You know, Denmark I think will qualify, but the odds reflect that as well at minus 280. And Serbia at minus 169. I think they're the third best team, but I do think if I was to make if you were to force me to have a bet, I would back Slovenia to qualify at plus 163. I think they're a very dangerous team, very dangerous. I think they're very well organised at the back. They've got that firepower in attacking Benjamin Sesko, who is very, very good. And Serbia have serious defensive issues. They're top heavy. They really are top heavy. If that game turned into a basketball match, if it was the last game of the group stages and both teams needed to win to qualify, then I would be backing Serbia. But if you were to make me make one bet, it would be Slovenia to cause an upset and qualify at a big price.
Okay. I have two plays in this group. Serbia under the points at 3.5 at minus 111. Seeing Serbia at major tournaments, you simply can't back them. They're defensively deficient. I think that it plays against them. The fact that they play England in the first game of this tournament, that might put them behind from the get-go. It's a team that people want to back because of name recognition. Well, a lot of these big players, Milinkovic-Savic and Mitrovic, they've gone on to play in Saudi Arabia. Now, will this have a beneficial effect? The fact that they haven't been grinding it out like some of the top leagues in European football, or will be a detriment the fact that they haven't been playing top sides? I'm not quite sure how it will work out. But this team's a disaster defensively. They're a team that I think could very easily finish bottom of the group here. I just can't back them. And by the way, Denmark has won 3 of 3 against Serbia in recent games as well, which parlays into my other bet. I think Slovenia is okay. I think they'll be a difficult side to play against, but I don't think that means production. I think Denmark can go on and win those 2 games in this group. I'll back them to get over the points. It's actually come down from plus 135 to plus 127 on Pinnacle, over 4.5 points. I like the emergence of Rasmus Højlund up top. He ended up scoring 7 goals in qualifying, scored in a friendly in the build-up to this as well. That's kind of what they were missing. Like, they had Poulsen playing that position. No real solution. I think they have enough steel in the team. They have some good width in terms of their fullbacks, but they just needed that outright finisher. I think Højlund could score some goals in this group and score some goals in this tournament. So Denmark over the points at a plus number, Serbia under the points are my 2 plays from Group C. Anything else, or should we just move things forward to Group D? I see a nod. Let's go to Group D. Poland, Netherlands, Austria, and France. This would be the co-group of death for me, with one notable exception. Poland are absolutely dreadful. They qualified for this tournament through the back door, through the wild card, playing 2 games against Wales. Didn't have a shot on target and survived because they have a really good goalkeeper in penalties in Wojtek Szczesny. They don't provide any service to Robert Lewandowski at all. As you can tell, I will be fading Poland at all costs. What do you make of Group D in terms of Austria, Netherlands, 2 very competitive sides? The question is whether they're good enough to compete against France, or really are they just competing against one another?
I think both can compete against France, yeah. I think it could be a group that comes down to how much you can beat Poland by, to be honest. I wouldn't be at all surprised if we saw draws between Austria, France and the Netherlands, and then it was just a case of goal difference. Because Austria are just a very difficult team to play against, difficult team to create against. They're very well organised. I think they'll be hard to beat. And then, as I said before in the outright preview, the Netherlands and France played out 2 very close games in terms of data. France just absolutely walloped them the first game with a really clinical display. France, they've generally been quite slow starters when it's come to major tournaments, and the results don't reflect it. But I remember back to when they won the World Cup in 2018, they were really underwhelming in their group. I think there was Peru, I want to say Australia and someone else, but their performances were really poor, and they seem to be a team that need, or that kind of go through the gears and improve as the tournament went on. And you could probably say the same about the Qatar World Cup, when they weren't brilliant in the group stage, and then as soon as they hit the knockouts, they put in a couple of really good displays to get through to the final. So, there's nothing I like really in terms of France, in terms of the Netherlands, but I think we're going to have the same play in terms of Poland under 2.5 points at -113. It's still -113, -115, so it is moving. Again, get on it now, because that'll carry on moving. Once people start to see how good Austria are, then I think that Poland's chances of doing anything decrease quite drastically. And I'm also going to take Austria plus over 3.5 points at +116. I think they can beat Poland and take a point off France or the Netherlands. There's every chance. When you look at the schedule, Austria play France first, they play they play Poland second, and then they play the Netherlands last. And there's every chance that the Netherlands and Austria kind of not so much shake hands on a draw, the final game, but if they're both in a position where a draw suits them, then that definitely could come into play. But either way, even if that's not the case, I do expect Austria to be very difficult to beat and more than capable of taking a point.
Same. It's the same process for me, the same bet. Austria to qualify at -119. Red Bull Ralph. He has players that all come from like Red Bull Salzburg, Red Bull Leipzig. It includes Baumgartner, Leimer, Sabitzer. They're all coming off very good seasons. Impressive in 2 March friendlies, in recent friendlies, beating Germany. Thumped Turkey 6-1, by the way. I think that this team could be competitive. Just there's a lot of players who are familiar with playing Ralph Rangnick's system. High energy players that in a tournament like this, I think they're going to be a pain to play against. I like over the point total of 3.5 at +116 as well. I look at that compared to Netherlands over the point total at -109 of 4.5. So 1 point fewer, and you're getting more juice for a team that I might put just maybe 1 notch below the Dutch, but certainly a team that can compete against them as well. If they come out, make France's life difficult, you never know that first game of the competition. I think it's an okay spot for them to play France rather than maybe a must-win situation for the French later on. Poland's the weak link in this group. I can't see Poland coming away with anything at all. So absolutely to qualify, and I wouldn't shy away from the point total for Austria as well. Those are my only plays for this group. I would recommend potentially Poland under 2.5 points at -113 for a play as well. But as far as group winner, France, Netherlands, I think that their numbers are out of market. Even France to win the group at -165. Too many other things can happen with 2 other good teams in this group. You never know what the point total is going to shake out to be in this group. So that's it for me from Group D, unless you have anything else to add.
Now let's move on to E,
which is Belgium, Slovakia, Romania, and Ukraine, who qualified through Path B in qualifying. Belgium, the favorite to qualify from this group. Group winner at -175. How are you prognosticating looking at this group where it seems like there's a team that's very popular among people in terms of Belgium, based upon their players, based upon recent a certain level of success, at least in qualifying. They're absolute beasts in qualifying. And 3 teams also in the group with question marks beside them. What do you make of Group E?
Yeah, I fully expect Belgium to win this group. This is the kind of group where put it this way, if this was a qualifying group, they'd win all the matches. They're streets clear of these other 3 nations, in my opinion. And I think the problem they had at the World Cup was that they had a couple of teams that were a bit frisky. And, there's only one frisky team, in my opinion, in this group at the moment, and that's Ukraine. So I'm going to back Belgium and Ukraine on the dual forecast at +120. I think that's the best way in. I understand what you're saying about Belgium's fragility at the back, but I don't think these teams have enough to test them. Romania, they struggled to create chances in qualifying. Again, in what was the easiest group of all the qualifying groups, Group I, Andorra, Kosovo, Belarus, Israel, they struggled to create chances against all of those. So even though Belgium might be lacking at the back end, I think they'll struggle to create. And the same with Slovakia. Slovakia overperformed massively in qualifying. They ran Portugal pretty close, but they scored 17 goals from 12 expected goals, and that's just a rate that's just not going to continue. And generating at 1.2 expected goals for per game against like average opponents like your Luxembourgs and Liechtensteins is not going to cut it, even if Belgium are lacking. So I fully expect Belgium to qualify, to finish in the top two. And then, we mentioned Ukraine in the outright. I definitely am hot on them as well. I think they could be a very interesting team to keep an eye on. As I mentioned in that outright, they were in the toughest group in terms of qualifying. And, their underlying data doesn't look great because of that. But their spine, the performances were good, especially at the back end of the qualifying. The spine of the team looks very strong. Lunin, Zabani, Zinchenko, Dovbik, very, very strong spine. And they've got a bit of flair either side as well. And obviously, Mudryk, not to mention him, have been potentially interesting down the left, and obviously Mikolenko as well. So they're a team that I put in higher esteem than Romania and Slovakia. And I think that Belgium and Ukraine will make themselves quite clearly the two best teams in this group and qualify 1-2. Taking the dual forecast, obviously the benefit of doing that is it doesn't matter what order. So if you are right and Ukraine do top the group, then as long as Belgium are second, I get a nice winner at plus 120. So that's the way I'm playing this group.
I backed Ukraine through qualifying, coming through the back door. I mean, in a group with England and Italy, no shame in finishing third in terms of qualifying there. Extra adversity, playing all of their games outside of their home nation, so didn't have the benefit of that. And even that, 7 of the 8 goals they conceded were in quote unquote away fixtures. You name the players, a Champions League winning goalkeeper in Lunin. Zabarny's had a very good season. Zinchenko, Dovbik had a huge season with Girona as well. His teammate Shahankov, they have legitimate talent in this team. And you mentioned Mudryk is the absolute X factor here. So look, Romania and Slovakia, they can't score. Romania only conceded 3 goals in open play in terms of qualifying, but they had a 1.1 non-penalty expected goals per game in qualifying. That's not going to cut it against when you step up in competition. Same thing with Slovakia, a 1.01 non-penalty expected goals in qualifying as well. And they qualified in a group where it was Portugal and who? No one. I know they have some experience in this side. Skriniar at the back, good player, but I question where the goals are going to come from. I think that the goals are going to be at a premium in this group. It might be the lowest scoring group here at Euro 2024. We should also mention that this group is the only one to contain 2 countries outside of the top 40 in the FIFA rankings as well. So I'll also make a play Romania not to qualify at plus 101. Look, it's their first major tournament since Euro 2016. A lot of young players. They've been strong defensively. I just question whether they'll have enough to get it over the line. So, no, Romania at plus 101 to qualify, and Ukraine over the point total of 4.5 at plus 123 will be my 2 plays from Group E.
Nice.
Good to go? Anything else? No?
No. On to the final.
What comes
group.
after? What comes after E? F. F is
for
final.
Yeah.
And it's a group that features Portugal, Turkey, Georgia, as well as Czechia. Portugal, the only team in this group in the top 35 in the FIFA rankings, whereas, for example, Group D, for instance, is filled with nations, each and every one of them are 28th or better. It's been a generous draw for Portugal, not only in terms of group, but in terms of potential path going deep in this tournament, not playing a group winner potentially all the way to the semifinal. That's the carrot that's being dangled for the group winner in Group F. What about the plays? Is there any play to make based on the markets in Group F?
Well, I didn't have any down, but I've just seen that Georgia, their point line is at plus 113 for under 1.5. And I'm going to back that. I'm going to have a play on that. I honestly think that this is a group with an elite team, 2 good and potentially capable teams, and then 1 really bad team. And that really bad team just happens to be Georgia. I rate Czechia. I think they're very, very dangerous. They could be a team that cause an upset if they get through. Very well organised. And I think Turkey, they're going under the radar a bit at this tournament. Last tournament, if you remember, they were everyone's dark horses. Everyone was sweet on Turkey, thinking they could do something, and they absolutely laid an egg. I think they are much better. They've got more attacking talent to call upon, young attacking talent as well. They've got a lovely bit of balance in midfield as well now. With the Benfica midfielder, I forget his name, but he's been playing very well this season. And yet, Portugal, we've talked about them enough in the way in which we think they're going to win the whole thing. So just taking Georgia on, I think, is the way to go. And I mentioned before when we were talking about Scotland that they were ranked as the 23rd out of 24 teams to qualify. They were the second worst in terms of expected goal difference per game. And the worst was, in fact, Georgia. They were the worst team to actually qualify for the tournament based on the underlying data. Just really poor, struggled to create chances, conceded an absolute ton against the likes of Spain, Scotland, Norway. They are the worst defensive team to qualify for the tournament based on the expected goals data in qualifying. So I've no reason to think why that won't continue. I mean, like I said, I do think both Czechia and Turkey have got the capability of being a little bit dangerous if they get past this round, and I just don't see the same with Georgia. So I think that they could well end up with 3 defeats out of 3. And if they do happen to take a point, that's fine, because we're on under 1.5.
I might go the other way. This might be a head-to-head here.
Really?
Because they're the only debutantes in this tournament, again, at home, dealing with geopolitical strife. I think over 1.5. I might stay away from that. How about to qualify? Yes, at plus 160, because I don't rate this group like at all. I don't trust Turkey. They won their qualifying group. They fired a very good manager, Stefan Kuntz. Montella's taken over, and what have they done? March friendlies and 1-0 loss away at Hungary, lost to Austria 6-1. I mean, I just question how good this team. I mean, with players like Arda Güler, Kenan Yildiz, have some really intriguing young players coming through, but the old guard does nothing for me. And I prefer the play under 3.5 points in this group for Turkey, under at plus 140. That is a big number for a team for me that I'm not convinced. I agree. I think Czechia is better than Turkey. Can Georgia come away with a famous win here? At plus 160, it's not something I'd shy away from. It's not my favorite play, but I'm considering. I have it down to consider. So in terms of qualifying, Georgia played in a pool with Spain, Scotland, Norway. That's not the easiest group necessarily here. And then they played some very difficult games just in terms of the Nations League as well. Kvaradona, they actually have a star player that I think they could really step up and do something this tournament. I'm considering it, Jake, not my favorite play on the board, but I'm considering at plus 160, Georgia might be a play that I'll consider making. So
I'd save you money. Invest it in the next rounds. Just save your money, because they are not going to do anything at this tournament.
I'd like to make a play on Czechia, but the numbers in the markets just aren't there for me.
Yeah, I had a look at Portugal.
Maybe it comes from more of a place of a fade on Turkey rather than being pro-Georgia. But if there's going to be something wacky and wild to happen in the group stage, I think it's everything below Portugal in this group. It's up for grabs.
Yeah, I think the only other way I'd play it is Portugal and Czechia to a dual forecast. You're getting nearly plus 200 for that. Because like you, I think Czechia are a better team than Turkey. I think the fact that they're just more well organised, they're more trustworthy, aren't they? Which is what you want from a team in the group stage when you're prognosticating. You want something you can trust, and we know that Czechia are going to play a very defensive-minded-ish kind of approach. They're going to be difficult to beat. They've got some good players in the heart of the midfield and defence, and then they're just going to try and score once, maybe twice if they need to, mainly from set pieces. So. I definitely would lean towards a bigger price play of Portugal and Czechia as a dual forecast.
Okay, that's it. Groups A through F at Euro 2024. Anything else to add about the group stage? Anything that will intrigue, whether it's a potential draw or anything else based upon the way that things work? Of course, 4 third place teams advancing throws a little bit of a wrench into future prognostication, depending on who ends up where. It seems like potential third place teams from Group A and B and maybe even C might have a more difficult path the way that the draw might break down. But what's your assessment of that?
Yeah, it's just a minefield. I love the Euros, but when they expand it to 24 teams, this just gives you a massive headache because you are trying to figure out. It's not just who finishes third, but it's in what order they end up finishing third in terms of the points accrued, then the goal difference and stuff like that. And then that depends on who they play. So it really is like, I don't think anybody will be able to predict the full bracket of this team's going to finish third, then they're going to be the best third place team, and they're going to play so-and-so. That's what makes it difficult. And that's one of the reasons why we love the World Cup, because the draw's made and it's just a straight bracket. You know exactly who you're going to play on your route to the final. Whereas this is just a little bit of a it's a bit of a conundrum. But what I would say is that when this was introduced in 2016, the third place team did actually win the tournament, which was Portugal. They drew all their matches in qualifying, qualified as the best third place team, and then went on to win the whole thing. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I would be surprised, but you know, if you're talking teams like Italy or Croatia, if they finish third, they're more than capable of potentially having a run, like we've discussed. Austria, Netherlands, the same. So just because you finish third doesn't mean that they are, you know, an average team, because the draw can be kind. You know, like you said, I think one third place team misses, like completely avoids a group winner as well. So yeah, it's just hard work when we're trying to figure out everything, plan everything, isn't it? Just
Georgia, Czechia included there, Jake?
Nah. Czechia have actually got a chance of causing a bit of an upset if they if they finish second, they're likely going to play France in the next round. So no,
it's wild. Certain things happen, like Patrick Schick being joint leading goal scorer in the previous Euros. So weird things happen. So if you find some value in some of these group stage fixtures and overall futures, have a look because there's some intriguing numbers. They're all available on Pinnacle. Go to the Euro 2024 section in the drop down from futures to group stage to individual matches. They have got you covered. On behalf of Jake, I am Wheels, and this has been your group stage preview for Euro 2024.